Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to Innerlight Inc. and Innerlight Ministries joint venture, Thrive Live. We are so excited you're here. I'm Reverend Daryl Moak, and I am today here with my co hosts, Raven and Tawana. And we are going to talk about our ongoing conversations with people around substance use disorders, mental health, and particularly the opioid crisis. Today, we have a very special guest joining us in a little while. But before he gets here, we're going to talk a little bit about resources and services and what's out there and have some more conversation about what do we think the three of us recommend in the world around ending stigma associated with substance use and mental health issues, and why it's so important in our communities that we do that. So we're going to chat a little bit, and then we're going to bring our special guest in, and who is traveling and on his way to get to his computer so he can join us. So I'm really excited. Innerlight Inc. This project is sponsored in part by Health HIV and the DC Department of Behavioral Health, along with SAMHSA. And we are so excited that we can join with these two major entities. Health HIV is a part of DC Health as well. So we're able to really connect with a lot of energy in DC around really making sure people are getting the best kind of care and services that they need, but also our particular focus from both our faith perspective and just from a human perspective is recognizing that these things are a part of what happens in the world around us, and that we need to eliminate the stigma and shame associated with it so people can actually get help, and we don't keep othering people, saying, well, those kinds of people have those problems and those people do that, and those people are our people, and those people are in our families and in our communities, they're in our churches, they're in our mosques and our temples, they are all around us. So Tawana, Raven, welcome back. It is good to see you both. You're looking bright and effervescent as well as always.
Hi, Daryl. Hi, Raven. It's always good to be here.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, so Raven, you've been this around substance use disorders. This has been your life's work for 25 plus years, right? So in your years of doing this, what have you seen as changes in the industry in terms of support and attitudes towards people who are dealing with these particular challenges? And what do you think needs to happen still to keep getting people in care, treatment, and ending stigma in our communities?
I would have to say the main issue from the client's perspective is housing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, wherever they come in, whether it's detox, treatment, aftercare, outpatient, wherever they come, their issues on the table is always housing. They say, how can I stay clean? How can I get employed or become employment ready and stay stable on a job if I don't have any place sound to live? That's been their issue on the table across the board for many, many years. They come in, they have medical issues because while they're out there, of course, they're not taking care of themselves medically either. A lot of them, because of all of that, develop, or even if they're mental health diagnosed, they're not independent, and responsible enough to keep taking their medicine like they're supposed to. So mental health is twice as bad, or they haven't been diagnosed because they're not independently, sound enough to go and seek out that help. And so all of it together just becomes a big challenge across the board. However, I've been told by, many, 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 many clients that the main issue is housing.
So I know that, Tawanda, you're seeing that housing concern in the regular mental health assessments and therapy that you're doing, but I want to see what questions you might have being newer in the industry. But before that, Raven, can you tell us, is that a change? Is the housing issue a major change over the last 25 or so years? Or is it, or has that been consistent from the beginning of your work in your career, that housing has always maintained that it's been a high priority and a big need? Or has there been a change and an increase in that need, maybe?
Well, it's I would say over my career tenure, it's been a major concern from day one, from the beginning of my career with the clients we're talking about then. I would have to say that the city, the DMV has offered housing opportunities, but a lot of times, if the clients relapse, sometimes it's just hard to get back to even ask for the help that they need. Even if the housing is available. And then the addiction is so powerful, it'll talk you out of the opportunity, or right before the opportunity, it'll sneak up on you if you're not doing it. And if you're not ready, and just take the opportunity off the table for you. I've seen clients get all the way to the point where they're getting ready to move in somewhere. They got a job or whatever, and they'll relapse. So it's not all about us not providing the housing opportunities. The willingness has to continue to be there, but the addiction is so strong. It's a constant fight, and then after you're out there so long, the fight gets more intense and more severe. And even if the opportunity is available and it's on the table, sometimes the clients don't get to take advantage of it. So it's been a battle. It's been a battle. I guess the clients just have to be more willing to want it. It's not for the people who need it. It's for the people who want it.
Yeah, Tawana, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, questions, reaction?
I agree with the part about it's got to be for the clients who, hold on, there's a crying child. That it's got to be for those who want it. Because just as Raven is saying, that is my struggle. A lot of the clients who come in, they come in wanting housing. So trying to focus on their mental health or their addictions or whatever it is, they're focused on their housing. And so trying to talk with me, I don't know about any other therapist, trying to talk to me about their diagnoses and their symptoms and their feelings, their emotions, is out the window until they know that they have a house or that they are at least on the list. And then even with being on the list, they need progress and it needs to be faster. So again, I haven't really personally been assigned someone with a drug addiction. It's mostly just mental health, or it's been mostly depression and homelessness.
Mm-hmm. So Raven, for those people that may be watching and don't get the connection between substance use and housing issues, how is the need for housing, how does that impact someone using? What happens in that scenario from what you've learned or what you've observed with your clients? What's the connection between not being in a stable housing and using drugs?
Well, I mean, it all goes hand in hand. Just like Tawana was saying, I mean, if you don't have stable housing, then that's going to bring on an onset of depression. You're going to become depressed if you don't have a stable place to live. And of course, if you don't have a stable place to live, then we're talking about taking care of important things in your life, like doctor's appointments, mental health appointments, physicals, dental appointments, and stuff like that is not important. So now you're so depressed, because a lot of most clients come in with situational depression, even if it's not chronic. It's situational, linked to your circumstances. And so, staying high, I just don't have to think about it. I don't have to feel it. It's not as bad. The drugs and alcohol lessens the pain. And until something happens, just like Tawana says, you'll get on the list for housing, but then the housing list is so long, especially the governmental ones. I mean, the ones that you'll get housing quicker through mental health than you'll get through, the government agencies now. The lists are so long, and it's depressing. You can't provide for yourself or your family, or you don't feel whole or useful in the community or useful in your family, and a lot of that stuff can lead up to suicide. So that's how you become suicidal, from what the clients say. After all of these things, just stay on you so long, and you're still using, and it's not getting better, because as long as you're getting high, the situation is getting bigger and more profound in your life, and so you just feel worse and worse every day. And so the
Raven,
situation turns around, and they forget that this is, they gotta, stop getting high to get to a better place. And so then housing becomes their issue. If I had a place to live, everything would be better. And that's where they stay focused.
so Raven, tell us, um, maybe one or two. Do you have any success stories? Stories of people that you worked with over the years that came in, needing your work and your help, your assistance, guidance, support, got it, and were able to sort of turn their lives around. Can you tell us a little bit about that person, without, of course, revealing their name and other kinds of things that violate HIPAA? But just tell us about a situation of a person who you have seen something, because this conversation can be so Debbie Downer, right? And but there have been successes. You're in this industry, and I don't think you'd. I know you, so I don't know that you'd stay somewhere where you didn't see something positive happen for somebody at some point, right? So, what's a good? Can you give us a success? Something that you're proud of, that you can remember, that would inspire other people to know, one, they can do it, and two, that if they know someone who needs it, that they can invest that love and energy and support behind them to help them do it too.
Wow. I mean, one, there's hundreds, there's thousands. I mean, again, I started counseling in 97. Um, and so in this field, and it has been hundreds and even thousands of people that I have, helped or tried to help, or been a part of their process in getting better. And they're still going to meetings. They've gotten their respect for themselves back. They've gotten their respect with their families back. The trust is important, because the consistency affords the trust again. I mean, if you stay clean and continuing to do, a lot of them go to Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous and Marijuana Anonymous. They have all of those meetings, and it's a suggested way of staying clean and sober. And you have a support system. And I mean, when you go to counseling, the counseling session is usually 120, $150 for 50 minutes. And when you go to these support groups, it's free. And you have counselors, you have doctors, you have lawyers, you have policemen, you have, government officials. Everybody is in these anonymous meetings. So anything you need is there. And when you share, and even though you don't have to be personable, you can find out who's who and talk to people. There's a meeting before the meeting, and there's a meeting after the meeting. And so you can get the help that you need for free, and you can get the support you need, and you can find out and hear every day, all day, that you're not alone. And you don't have these unique problems and everything. And so I just really can't really focus on one. I mean, there's just so many that are still doing well, because they're following the suggested suggestions because whatever they were doing didn't work. So all that we as counselors, try to encourage them to do is to try something different, something new, and see if that works for you. Because there's many ways. There's no right or wrong way to get and stay clean. However, if your way is not working, we suggest that you try something different. We have the anonymous meetings, which I just spoke about. We have church. You of course got to go and talk to therapists and psychiatrists. Some people need outside help. And so the steps were transformed from the Bible. So it's all a spiritual concept across the board, but just knowing that you can't do it alone and grasping all of us between Tawana, Daryl, and myself with everything that we bring, just the three of us, social work, counseling, ministry, and all the other credentials that we have, for mental health and all. So, you just have to, become humble enough to see that you need some help and ask for the help and get a good assessment and find out where you need to be and just stay connected and just keep in mind that you can't do it by yourself and get the support that you need. And the sky's the limit for anybody to turn their life around. So I have several clients that I've been a part of their forward movement that are absolutely doing well, have houses and apartments and condos and good jobs and all of this, progress in their life, and they're doing well. They're still going to meetings. They're calling their sponsor. They're doing step work. Some of them have gone back to church and, building in their spiritual realm and their religious foundation. And so, they're just, staying on the path and trusting the process. So a lot of them, very, very, very many of them are doing really well,
So if you're joining us if you're joining us right now, we are here with Inner Light Inc., Inner Light Ministries, our Thrive Live programming. And I'm talking today with my co-host. I'm Reverend Daryl, and I'm talking today with my co-host Raven and Tawana. And we are talking in this series, this season, about healing in mental health and substance use disorders, and even particularly the opioid crisis that's going on in DC. We're sponsored in part by Health HIV and DC Department of Health and the DC Department of Behavioral Health and SAMHSA. So we are excited to be here. We're going to run underneath us right now. We're going to run a banner for you with contact information. If you are someone that needs some help right now and you're in the DC area, you can call this number 1-888-7-WE-HELP. That's 202-561-7000. That's the Department of Behavioral Health's helpline. And you will be able to get connected to care and services as you need to. You can also call 311. And in a lot of jurisdictions in the DMV area, you can dial 311 and they will connect you to the right place that you need to be in if you're in Maryland or in DC or in Virginia. But listen, I had a client years ago. I was working in a inpatient psychiatric facility, and this particular person, we had seen this person a couple of times. There are those people that we call they have the revolving door. They come in, they get some treatment, they go back out, and they're back in a short period of time. So much so that all the staff kind of know them when they come and we see their name. We're like, okay, so and so's back again, right? But this particular time, this person, this was the first time I actually was meeting this person. I had not been at the hospital prior to their last time that they had been in the hospital. And so I was assigned to them as their mental health specialist therapist. In the hospital, you do a variety of jobs all at the same time. So I'm the liaison with the doctors and the nurses and all that kind of stuff, and monitoring them on the unit. And so we spent some time talking, and one of the challenges that this person had was bipolar disorder. And most of the time we saw them come back in the hospital when they were manic, they had been manic. And this person had gone out and bought a yacht and lots of clothes, had bought stuff, giving it all away, and just paid for like a bunch of stuff out there. And the family was increasingly worried about them, and they ended up back in the hospital. And so we spent some time talking about a little bit what Raven was talking about in terms of is it working for you? One of the things that we discovered or that we know is that folks that have bipolar disorder often are some of the least people that stay on their medication, because when they feel better, they don't think they need the medicine anymore. And that either sends them one way or the other, either spiraling into mania or spiraling into depression. And when they get to the end of either of those cycles, they ultimately end up looking for help or being placed somewhere where they need to get help, because they can be dangerous to themselves or others in that frame of reference. So we worked together, we did some work, and a week and a half or so of inpatient treatment, and then insurances are like, get them out of there, right? But this person really, for some reason, took to heart the conversations that we had and the therapy that we were doing. And I got a letter from their mother. This is a grown man. He was older than me, and his mother was even older than that, you can imagine. And she sent a card and a little letter to me at the hospital, thanking me. She said that no one up to that point had been able to get through to him and get him to see why he needed to stay on his medication, and why that was not being on, and the things he was doing, going into the substance use and binge drinking, binge smoking, binge drugging, all that while he was in mania was problematic for him, because everyone else in the family could see it, but he wasn't seeing it. And so it was just really nice to get a letter many months later. And actually, I don't recall, in the years that I was still at the hospital, I don't recall him ever coming back again, at least not to our facility after that time. Well, that's not true. He came twice. He came the first time, and then shortly thereafter was back right again. And then after that time, he didn't come back, and I got the letter from his mom. But it was really heartening to hear someone, because a lot of times mental health professionals, substance use disorder specialists, and certified addiction counselors, and all those folks that are in the helping professions don't always get a thank you. They don't always get any notice. When a person leaves us, they're gone and they're on to live their life, and we may not ever hear or know what's happened. We have the fortune sometimes of hearing back from people or seeing them somewhere, seeing that they're doing well. And so that was one of those times where I actually got a message that said what we had done in the hospital, it's not just about me, but what we had done in the hospital this time had really helped this person, and how much better he was doing at that point. And his mom was just really happy. Her biggest fear, I think she was in her 70s at the time, her biggest fear was that she'd be gone and there'd be no one there for him, and that he would be lost in that cycle. And so she was grateful that she could see him better for a period of time while she was still alive. And so that's really a great joy. And I know, Tawana, this is you're newer in the field, but you did an internship. That's where we met, when you were first doing one of your first internships a while ago, almost 10 years ago now, 7 years, I think, 7, 8 years. And so you're new, but you're not a novice. It's not your first week. Have you seen any preliminary or some true success stories so far in your years?
Well, no, because again, they haven't assigned to me someone with drug issues. The closest that I have or had was the lady that had been smoking cigarettes since the age of 9 years old. I had gotten her, according to her self-report, she was decreasing her amount of cigarettes. She was smoking like 3 packs a day. I had kind of helped her get down to, it was like half of a pack, less than half of a pack a day. But unfortunately, she is no longer my client. But that was probably 3 or 4 months, in a 3 or 4 month time, or maybe even 2 or 3 months.
That's a lot of change in a short period of time. What did you do? What did you say? What kinds of things did you offer her to that helped her move along that path?
Well, one, she came completely ready. She said she's tried everything. She's been in treatment, the patches, all and nothing had worked for her. So I told her, let's kind of have a different mindset. Instead of you, and she tried cold turkey, everything. So instead of let's saying that you're going to quit smoking, let's just focus on a decrease. And so with changing that mindset, so, because you got to allow people time to fail and stuff like that. I said, as long as you're focused on you're just decreasing, then you won't feel bad if you have that extra cigarette or the extra 4 cigarettes or whatever. So we did that. And also we came to a point to where she decided herself that she was going to change the location where she buys her cigarettes. Because she's been living there for so long, she knows the guy at the gas station and he'll let her get the cigarettes for free. Because he'll know that she'll come back next time and pay. And also, we use a strategy that she only paid cash. So she needs to set aside a pot of cash that she's free to spend on her cigarettes, but nothing else. Don't take any extra money. Don't borrow no money, anything like that. And that's the approach that we took, and it seemed to have been working.
That's exciting. Raven, at some point I saw you smile when Tawana was telling her story. What was that about? What happened? What were you thinking in that moment?
Well, I mean, I think Tawana is not giving herself enough credit for the progress that she's helping with, first and foremost, because, the cigarette situation, but working with the mental health, as long as they're stable, as long as they're still breathing, they haven't gotten suicidal or taken their own life, that's the progress in itself. But, I was thinking about when she was saying that she had to come from a reduction perspective, which, especially for mental health. And I'm finding the young adults are the ones who you really want to use reduction with as well, because it could be anybody too, because you coming in and you're thinking about not getting high no more. Well, wait a minute, the rest of my life, I can never have a beer, never have a joint, for that, some people that's over the top. So if you don't say stop, that red light is real big for anybody trying to change anything. So if you say, well, we ain't gonna be on the green light because we're not going to think this is healthy, because let's talk about the harm that this has caused in your life by continuing to do whatever it is that's harmful to you. And then we want to wrap that around and say, well, okay, well, maybe we just ain't going to think about just stop forever, just for today. Maybe we're just going to look at today and maybe we'll just cut down, reduce, and so just looking at it differently, because I mean, that's our job across the board, is having them to see the glass, half full instead of half empty, and changing your perspective is our main goal, because you have to look at it differently, to feel differently, to think differently, to move about differently, to get to where you want to go. Because again, what we want for them as professionals, we can see clearly what they need. But when I meet with a client, my first question is, what is your desire? What do you want to do with your life? And how can I help you? Because what I want for you is much different than what you may want for yourself. What I see that you possibly need, you may not be ready for. So the reduction is a very good approach to some people who are like, wait a minute, I can't have no beer with my crabs.
So let's dig into that a little bit more, Raven.
Marijuana is legal. Wait a minute, Miss Raven, what are you saying? Forever?
Right, let's look at that a little bit more and talk about this, because the concept of harm reduction is one that is a challenge, I think, in some communities. and in some families, because all we've been told is don't do it, don't do drugs, don't do X, Y, and Z, don't do this, don't go out and keep having sex with everybody that you just feel like sexual, by being liberated with your body and being able to have sex however you want to is not good, right? These are things that people will say that creates the stigma that makes someone feel like they have to do things in secret, right? They have to do it in hiding, and that somebody can't know about it. And the challenge, I think, is when we start talking about harm reduction, you have people on one side that are going to say, yeah, but you're encouraging people to do it. And others saying, no, we are trying to move them in the direction of not doing it. But some folks are not going to just go straight from 60 to 0. So, and some people may only get to 5. The idea is that we want people to feel successful in their own journey. And so if you're at 100 and you can get down to 10, that's a significant change. And statistically, it's phenomenal change, right? So, Raven, can we talk, and Tawana, and what you guys are learning and what you're using and doing? Let's talk a little bit more about how we can help the community understand that harm reduction is a part of a healing journey and not an excuse or an escape from facing up to the reality of the challenges of mental health issues or substance use issues or other kinds of addictions. Anybody?
So why it's important to understand the role that harm reduction plays? That's the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think pretty much you said it. You said it in the introduction that, as long as we are focusing on reducing the stigma, but also we know that as long as the people know that they are having some type of success, that's an important part as well. And harm reduction is simply, like you said, us not telling you how bad you are, don't do it. You're messing up your lungs. Smoking ain't no good for you. Alcohol is no good for you. And as a former guest shared about when they get in that habit and maybe they start stealing stuff from you, just letting them know, you know what, I still love you, and giving them food, giving them those basic essentials. I think that's a part of that harm reduction as well. And we need to understand that too. No matter who it is or what they're going through, those basics of food, just come in and let me have food, let me have human touch, and that'll get me through.
Let me give you a definition of harm reduction, and then Raven, I want you to talk about how you've been, if you've been able to use these techniques, how they work, and maybe you can walk us through a scenario where we can do a quick role play before our guest gets on, or in terms of walking someone through a harm reduction process. And I know that's sort of arbitrary, but here's a definition from Wikipedia. Harm reduction or harm minimization refers to a range of public health policies designed to lessen the negative social and or physical consequences associated with various human behaviors, both legal and illegal. So we use it in this context around the substance use and mental health, physical challenges and barriers and all of that. But it's also more than that, right? It covers harm reduction if someone is a habitual. One of the things that we do when people have a fear of something, we have sort of a reverse harm reduction kind of concept. If this walk with me down this pathway and see if it makes sense. I'm afraid to do something, but I know it's something I need to be able to do. So my therapist works with me to slowly, incrementally increase my ability to do the thing and reduce my fear of the thing that I need to do, right? It's also called desensitization in some circles around some things like that. Harm reduction is much like that in the reverse, in that we're trying to get people to reduce the thing that may be counterproductive for them so that they could increase doing something else, replacing it with something that is healthy. But it's not saying, like Raven said, this cold turkey, what do you mean I can never do that again, right? because some families have their whole family gathering is centered around gathering, eating, and drinking. Every family setting has that going on. So there's never going to be a time when they can go to a family gathering and there won't be alcohol or something else in their presence, and they are not sure. I can never do it, right? But how do we get people to understand to manage their ability to control themselves, and to minimize or reduce the use, and therefore minimize and reduce the negative impact that it may be having? So, Raven, what can you use one of us as a guinea pig and walk us through how a harm reduction process, in theory, might work? And this is all theory, and of course, this is something for those of you at home. Don't try this at home by yourself. This is something that you do with someone who understands the principles and can guide you through it. So this idea of a scenario was just sort of to give you a framework to understand that this really can work for people. Raven?
Well, technically, Daryl, I think that Tawana gave a really good example about her client who was trying to stop smoking. She has already given us a really good example of how the downsize works, because the theory a lot of times of, again, I can never have a beer with some crabs. I can't smoke a joint and it's illegal. Well, while you're not ready, see, they always talk about, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And a lot of us, we do good work across the board, but these clients have been to several people who do good work, but they weren't ready till they got to us. And thank God we were there when they were ready. However, I tell the clients all the time, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. Everybody can't eat the elephant. You just swallow the elephant all at one time. So again, I think it goes back to Daryl. I think it goes back to the trust and the readiness, and the willingness to tell the truth about what it is that you want to do. Are you here for housing? Do you really want to stop getting high? Do you really want to be mentally stable? Do you really want to be medically stable? What is it that you want? Because that is the desired destination, whatever you want. Because if I want more for you than you want for you, then you're not going to be willing to see it through from my perspective, because that's not what you wanted in the beginning. So we're not going to have a success rate on what I want. We need a success rate on what you want. So again, one of my best traits as a counselor is meeting them where they are. What is it that you want? What do you want to do? And again, how can I help you? So when we come to harm reduction, and I really like the way Tawana put it, and she threw the sympathy and the empathy in there, because bottom line, it's a real thin line between supporting and enabling. And so while we're trying to be softer with our approach, as well as far as how do we support somebody? Well, I'm so angry with you and your poor choices along the way. So I'm just not going to support you at all. If you go to jail, I'm not going to put no money on your book. I'm not going to send you no canteen. I'm not doing any of that. Matter of fact, I'm not even coming to visit you. You stole my money. You lied to me, and you're not trustworthy at all. So no, I don't want to be bothered with you. After you've done so much, people just turn their back, and they knock on the door, I'm hungry, and slam the door in your face, don't answer it, or whatever. So yeah, you can give somebody something to eat without inviting them to come live with you. You can give them a few dollars, and after you give it to them, it's none of your business what they do with it. But if you're going to trust that one day they're going to, do what they're supposed to do with it, and then go and seek them some help. So then enabling goes a long way. So it's like, okay, Daryl, why are you here? And what is it that we can help you with?
So our guest is trying to get on. Let me get this to him. He's having trouble finding the link. So I'm going to get it to him right now. But Tawana, can you talk a little bit more? Raven mentioned something, and it jumped out at me that in DC we have a process that we're required to do that is person-centered treatment, or family-centric, right, treatment. And so what Raven was just talking about is the question becomes, how can people understand that treatment, it requires at some level some other folks to be in it with you for that support. But because I say this all the time, if a person goes and they've been doing something for such a long time, that's what the family expects, and they go get help and they show up at the family gathering, the family's going to treat them the way they've been expecting them to be. And over time, they end up repeating some of those behaviors because it's what's familiar. And the family sort of, if you don't believe that I got better and I'm not doing no more than fine, I'm gonna drink this whole gallon, right? Because if you don't believe me, that means you don't trust me, you don't believe in me, so fine, whatever. And they get angry and throw out their own process. So it's important that families are involved, that close friends, that you have some support network. Can you two talk about that, Tawana and Raven, talk more about that, the need of that support system and how important it is for the system to change while the person is changing?
So in addition to what you were saying, I would just tune in that it also helps even in the process period, right? Because we have clients that don't have a phone, don't have a computer, don't have email, don't have all of that. And today, therapy is done telehealth. So just simply because I have 2 clients or so, all their sessions, I have to go through their wife. So, the wife gives a phone, she logs in, all of that. So knowing that your family is there for the journey with you is important, because they are also going to be the people. Actually, I had another guy and finished with that. So they're going to be the ones that help keep you accountable. Now, I just remembered about a client that I used to have. He had, I don't remember his diagnosis. Maybe it was schizophrenia or something. In addition, he was doing drugs, and he was hardly at home. But his brother, one of his brothers, that was who I had to go through for his appointments. And his brother would constantly call the house, go to the house, check on him, hold him accountable, like I said. And the brother would also give me information that was different than from what the client was saying. Because the family would be a little more helpful. Those support systems are more helpful, because the client just want to tell you, I'm okay, I'm good, or I'm sad, or whatever. It's not giving me the whole picture as to what's really going on. I think that's all I got.
Okay. Anything from your, how important has it been to work with families, Raven?
Well, Daryl, first of all, I want to apologize to whoever's listening, because right before you went into trying to help our guests come on, you were talking about role play. And I said, well, Daryl, how are you here and how can I help you? And I think that kind of went out the window.
Oh, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
I know you didn't hear me. I got you. You didn't hear me. So I wanted to apologize to the people that did. But what I was talking about prior to that was, and you tuned right in on it, Daryl, when you did come back, you talked about the client-centered approach. And that was exactly what I was trying to come across with, because what I would like to suggest for the people who are listening and might be a little confused is that you all become open-minded and understand that the client-centered approach is individualistic. Every client needs something different. Every client comes from a different thought process. They come from a different background. They come from a different corner, a different street, a different alley, and a different experience. And we have to meet them where they are. Everybody's just not ready to stop. I mean, sometimes you run across, and a good example is coming off of cigarettes. They have the nicotine patch. Okay, you put the patch on, and for so many days, and you do this and you do that. It's a downward spiral that you come off of. Methadone. It's a downward spiral that you come off of. So everybody is not ready to just stop. And so we have to meet them where they are. We have to talk a different language. We have to try to get them to change their mindset. And while they're doing that, we're still educating them. We're still probing. We're still making them look at the pros and cons and how um, their addiction to whatever is harmful to them, or their decisions in life has been harmful to them, take a look at it and see that it's not a good idea to what you've been doing. Because for me, it's not about working and not, it's not about the choice is good and bad or right or wrong. It's about working or not working. If what you're doing is working for you, then continue to do it. But if what you're doing is not working for you, please just become open-minded to change how you see it, how you look at it, and please ask for some help. The help is here. You just have to become entirely ready to do something different, because everybody has a different bottom, and we have to meet your bottom so that we can bring you up from wherever you are.
So let's do that role
Help
play.
bring
Go
you up
ahead.
wherever you are.
So let's do that role play. Go ahead, Raven. Throw that question at me again.
Okay, Daryl. Hi, how are you? My name is Miss Raven, and I'm just, wondering, why are you here, and how can we help you?
Uh, mm, you know, I mean, like, I'm here. They said I'd say, look, I don't really think I have a problem, but people keep saying I should do something. So, I'm here because I want to shut them up. I need them to leave me alone, and I'm living my life, and
So what
that's
are
it.
they saying you have a problem with?
uh, oh, just okay. Look, I mean, let me just look. I'm just telling you, I ain't got no cut cards. So I'll just tell you, I likes to get my drink on and my smoke on. And if I'm in the mood, I'm a snort a little something, shoot a little something. Look, I like to party. I have a good time. I take care of my own. I got my I mean, I'm okay. I do okay by myself. I stay with my sister sometimes, and she get on my nerves. I go visit my brother, and I got a good nephew, my nephew and his wife and family, and I go over and stay with them sometime, and then once in a while I go back and go to my mom and dad in their house, and I'll be all right. But I'm fine. I like moving around and doing what I got to do. So I ain't hurting nobody, ain't bothering nobody. They just, I don't know why they think I need to do something different. They just get on my nerves.
So what are they saying that's detrimental to your lifestyle and the way you're living? What are they saying that's not good about it?
Well, they talk about I don't have a regular place to live. I'm going from place to place, and I've been doing that, all my life. So it didn't know it feels it's fine to me. I mean, I stay a
So
little
you don't
time
want
here,
your
stay a
own
little
place?
time there.
You don't want your own place?
You know, that might be all right, but look, I know how I am, and I visit with my family, and I stay with them. I don't want nobody coming in the sun to sleep on my couch all the time. So now I'm good without, having to do all that. As soon as you get something, everybody wants some of it. So I'm all right with that.
Well, isn't that what you're doing to other people? What you don't want them to do to you? Don't you see it that way?
No, no, because see, when I go, I contribute. I go and
Oh,
I,
you
I mean,
you
I mean,
working?
I do a little odds and ends here and there when I need to. I get a little something. I ain't asking them for nothing. I sleep on the couch or in my mom and dad let me sleep in my own room sometime. And my mom and dad need something. I do it around the house and then I go on. My sister, sometimes I go over there and stay and she want to go out. So I babysit the kids. Ain't no, I ain't completely just living off nobody, you know. But
So no stable residence and no stable employment or any of that. And so is that what you want for yourself? Is that what you see that that's working for you? You don't want any more out of life than what you're doing?
Well, I don't know. Depends on what you mean. I mean, I'm all right. I mean, I'm
Do
not.
you see
I'm
any harm at all? Do you see any harm in any of that?
harm. Ain't nobody
Yeah,
getting hurt.
anything negative about anything that you're doing? Do you see that you could be doing something better, something different
Look, we could all
with
be doing
yourself?
something different. We could all be doing something different, something better, whatever that is. So, yeah, I could always do something different, but I ain't hurting nobody. There's nobody. I'm not a criminal. I don't steal nothing. I don't hurt nobody. I don't hit nobody. I don't fight with nobody. But well. Now you push me a little too far, then I'm a take care of it. But other than that,
Let me
I
ask you a question. Do you know the definition of impairment?
You mean like hearing impaired or visually impaired or something like that? Like
Just impairment, period.
when
Just
you have
impairment. Do you know the definitions
look, don't treat me like a
as it relates to you getting high? Do you know the definition of impairment?
um. Well, I don't get impaired when I get high, so I don't think it's the same thing. So I don't know what you're trying to say because you asking me a question. I was asking you if when you asked me about impairment, is it like this other thing? That's how I understand the word, and you told me don't answer that way. So what is you trying to say? I was trying to tell you
Well,
how I
let
understand
me just
impairment.
give you some politically correct information. Whenever you get high off of whatever, you become impaired. The definition of impairment means not at your best. So possibly, maybe if you
Well, shoot,
thought
I ain't at
about
my best when
maybe,
I wake up in the morning. So I'm impaired in the morning. I ain't done nothing when I wake up in the morning. I ain't at my best till I wake up and
well,
get a
maybe you still
shower.
have a hangover from the impairment yesterday, if we're talking about in the morning. But I'm just saying, maybe if you become willing to cut down on what you're doing, maybe you'll have a healthier thought process, and maybe you'll want a little bit more out of life than you're willing to have today.
See, you done made an
Just
assumption.
maybe.
I ain't said I get high every day, and I don't. And when I wake up in the morning, I ain't coming from a high from the day before. I do that when I want to. I don't do it all day every day. It ain't. I ain't. I'm not. No druggy or nothing like that. I don't. I could take care of myself. I know what I'm doing when I'm doing
So
it.
how much do you drink? How much do you drink when you drink?
You know what? Listen, I don't measure.
Do you get drunk? Do they say you get drunk? And you may not think so, but does anybody say you got drunk?
No, they'll say you was drinking. You drank everybody under the table. You was drinking.
They
That's
never
what it,
said you got drunk. Do you think you ever got drunk?
I probably have at times, but I can handle my liquor. I can handle what I'm doing. I ain't been in no fights. I ain't got kicked out nowhere. I don't have no DUIs. So I ain't been unable to take care of myself like that. I'm not. I don't. Listen. I done seen some pissy drunk people. And people pissing on themselves and they drinking and they can't stand up and can't walk and now I ain't never been one of them kind of people. Now I don't, no, I'm not that.
So you don't even have a problem then. You don't think when you get high off anything you become impaired. You only hear because of your family saying that they think this is what you need, and so that's the only reason why you here is because of that, and you don't even have a problem. Is that correct?
Like I said when we started, I don't think it's a problem. Now whether I can do something different or not, if sometimes I don't like when my mom is sad. And so when she was really upset last week, so I told her I'd make this appointment and come talk to somebody because I don't like her to be sad. So my mom has done a lot for me, and my dad too, and I love them. And I don't. So if they are concerned, then I said I would come and talk to somebody about what they said. No, I don't see it me having a problem. I don't even really see it as a major issue because I can do it or not do it. I just like to do it. So I don't, but
No.
everybody I know, listen,
Do
everybody I
you
know,
think that you'll be willing
Amen.
to cut down a little bit? Are you open for that? Do you think you'd be willing to just cut down a little bit so that your mom won't be so sad and your family won't be so
Well,
argumentative with you.
I don't. We have to define what you mean by cut down, because I don't do it all day every day. I do it when I want to. So I don't know what maybe you need to talk to her and them about what cut down might mean to them, because I'm not doing it all the time. But was somebody give Tawana the other part that Tawana was getting ready to say something? I don't know what she's going to say.
Yes, I was trying to say first, when you said that you wasn't hurting anyone, I was wondering if you can tell me, do you think that you're helping? I was observing and I heard you state that you help with the kids and you help around the house, but is there anything other than that that you think would be helpful to your family?
No, that's an interesting question. I might have to give that some thought.
Okay, we can come back to it.
You did say that you was hurting your mother, so you contradicted yourself because you said your mother's not.
Hold on, Miss Raven. Hold on, Miss Raven. So we'll come back to that question.
I didn't say I didn't say I hurt my mom. I just said my mom was sad.
She was sad. Do you think that there is anything that you can do other than agreeing to come here? How about, I'm gonna go back. You don't know what cutback is. You don't know how much you're doing, how much you're drinking or whatever. Who purchases your alcohol?
I do.
Okay. Can you give me a rough estimate of how much you're spending on your alcohol in either a day or a week?
Well, let's see. It's not always the same. So last week I spent probably about less than $50. I had got me a bottle and one day, and then I had a 12-pack on another over the weekend, last weekend, and then I had a bottle. So yeah, probably last week I spent about $50 in.
Okay, so last week you spent $50 on 2 bottles and a 12-pack. Can you recollect how much you spent the week before that?
No, because that was a week I probably didn't spend but maybe about $10 or $15 that week.
Okay, no problem. So you told Raven that you do not work, correct?
No, I said I work. I said I do odds and ends and I get the money I need.
Okay. Can you tell me about how much that is?
It depends on what I need. So I need it, I go get a job.
Your average.
If I need some money this week, I'm gonna go get the lawnmower up and go cut some grass. I'm gonna go wash some cars. I go tinker with some people's in the house. They need something done at their house. So it just depends. I hustle. I hustle.
Hey,
gets mine.
Hustling is good.
You can believe me. I hustle and gets mine.
I appreciate that about you. So the lowest that you've made was probably $10.
Oh no, I don't do no $10 jobs. I ain't no trick now. You ain't get me working and humping around to give me $10.
You're right. That was low balling. That was low balling.
You got me confused with somebody's teenager or something.
What's the lowest?
Listen, for me to get out of my bed, you can't be paying me less than $25 to come see what the problem is.
Look, I got you laughing, Mr. Darrell. So tell me what's the lowest amount of money you've been paid?
I usually get some, depends on the job. If I'm cutting grass and washing cars are probably the lowest price things that I might do for people. But, I don't just wash the car. I got to do a little detailing on the inside, because if you just wash your car, that's that $10 stuff they talk about. You just rinse my car off. I'm not going for that. So I got to clean out the inside. So no, $25 to $35 is about the lowest of what it costs if I'm going to, if I'm cutting somebody's grass, it's got to be somebody with a yard, because, I'm not hauling that stuff all over to cut a grass that's 2 feet by 2 feet. Y'all better get you a little weed whacker. I ain't worried about you. But so yeah, about $25, $35. But on an average day, I might get about $50, $60, on an average day. And I might do that, 2, 3, 4 times a week if I feel like I need to. If I need to do a little more, I do a little more, all of that. And now you say all that, I ain't got no savings, so that I don't know what I'm doing with all my money now. Now that might be a problem.
There we go.
That might be a problem. I can't think about where all that money going now. That might be a problem. Now I might have to. Oh man, yeah.
Because how are you eating?
Oh, I go buy something from the care app.
Okay.
Me and the care app, we that's how we care out. That's what I do.
Okay, so I'm glad that you noticed that you make approximately $100 a week, and you spend about 50 of that on alcohol. So step one is you just noticed that. So what can we do to help you? What can we do for you to notice that I need to start saving and doing something different? Tell me what it is that you like to do, though, or maybe that you used to like to do.
All right. So that's good. So this gives you guys a little bit of a sample of the kind of ways. You got 2 different styles. And if I were doing it, there'd be a third style that I use. But you see that each style that we have was the intention was to engage the client in a conversation, right? And to draw them in to come to a decision for themselves, right? Raven saw a big picture on the end, is trying to point me in the direction of the big picture. Tawana sees the big picture, but wants me to see the step to get to the big picture, right? And so there are different ways of approaching how that would work. So Raven, recognizing that I have been in this business, I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time. So I wasn't a kid. She didn't need the kid gloves with me, right? But when I got to a place of vulnerability, Tawana recognized that, and then that's when she put on a little more softer gloves to try to, because that became a tender spot when I'm talking about my mom. This was a whole made up story. A whole made up story. I was making up on the spot. But but listen, our guest is with us now. He is here, and we're gonna jump in and listen to his story and have him share with us his life and his story. Tawana said in the chat, I'm acting just like real people act too. Oh yeah, that's why I have a theater degree. But thank you both. Thank you for letting me put you both on the spot and demonstrate your considerably amazing talents and skills. Thank you, Raven and Tawana. Is Jamie still with us? I want to say thank you to Kayla also. Kayla in the background, she is our tech person. So thank you, Kayla, for being with us and helping us to make this happen. Hello, Mr. Jamie Tolliver. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Daryl? How you doing?
Hey, I'm well, thank you. I've got my co-host here, Raven, and Tawana, to my co-host with us in this program. Mm-hmm. And so, Jamie, we talked a little the other day about what this program is, and through Innerlight Ministries, Innerlight Incorporated, we are working from grants from the Health, HIV, and Department of Health and the Department of Behavioral Health to end stigma around mental health, substance use, and particularly the opioid crisis, and addressing that in the DMV. And so we're glad that you would join us. And so we're going to open the floor to you to share your story, and also, where your journey with substance use, mental health, and where you are now, and what's happening along the way. So take a few minutes, share your story, and then we'll just have a conversation.
Okay. Well, first of all, Daryl.
Yeah.
So you be hanging with Reverend Mitchell, Dana?
Yes, that's my sister.
Okay, well, that's my future wife.
I know all about you.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me too. I'm getting ready to celebrate a new year next month on the 7th. I'll be 65, and I had a 30-year, journey and in reference to in the lifestyle of using. It's been 21 years since I've last used. I'm right now a CAC2. Working in this field, been working in this field since 2002. And so, but yeah, my journey's it's been a good journey. It's been a learning process. Today I work in a methadone program on Good Hope Road. I know you may be familiar with that. It used to be
Yeah.
Good Hope Institute. Now it's Behavior Health Group. It was bought out by a Texas company, and they have 71 different companies throughout the country today. Of course, I started out at a coma project with Dana, working for the Coma Project, in 2002. But that was I think the end of my a few years after the end of my journey of using. But grew up in Washington D.C. Washingtonian, went to D.C. public schools. Oh well, actually, I actually started out in Catholic school. I went to the Immaculate Conception on 8th and N Street Northwest. Ended up going to Nativity up on Georgia Avenue, and DeMatha for a few months before they told me that I had to leave because I wasn't doing what I should have been doing. And matter of fact, when you talk about a journey and stuff, the beginning of my journey, it was not in the streets. As an altar boy at Immaculate Conception, I believe the first time I ever really got intoxicated was at 9 years old, getting ready to serve an Easter Sunday Mass. It was my mother was sitting in the front row because we were chosen. You have to be a top flight altar boy to do an Easter Sunday Mass with an archbishop there. And but we were in the back. One of my associates, we were in the back playing priests, imitating what priests do. We basically had to go to the basement of the rectory to go get the wine. It was real wine. And as playing priests, we basically drank the wine. And by the time service was ready, I was ringing the bells and stuff. And one time the bells rang and clang, 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 and I was face down on the altar. Mother sitting in the front row, extremely, shocked and embarrassed and stuff. But that was my first time I ever got drunk. But the first time I was introduced, the first introduction of any type of alcohol was at 3 years old with a godmother who did not mean any harm. All she said was, B, that was my mother, let the boys have a little taste of this Carlene's Black Label. And basically what she wasn't aware of, when she gave me that taste, that I liked it. And couldn't wait to basically, to get to a point where I could buy my own. But in that setting and stuff, it was a family gathering on the weekends when they would let their hair down. My mother and father and stuff, they would gather with the friends and stuff. They would get the fish boxes. They would get the chicken boxes. They would play cards, and they would just drink on the, Friday evening through Saturday and Sunday. They get prepared for work. Now, one of the things and stuff that, happened in my family, I noticed something, with my father, who when he wasn't drinking throughout the weekdays, he was not a pleasant person, right? And I can tell you, I couldn't wait for the weekend till he would get a sip. Instead of basically being scaring folk, he was basically being very loving at that time. So I sometimes, I guess, contributed drinking to something positive. Also basically he wasn't hitting mom. So basically, and he was hugging her. So whoa, that means something. And that was my thought when it came to drinking, that when it came to getting a sister and stuff, drinking should, get some liquor. Because daddy at home and stuff was a nice man when he was drinking, and he would also give us about $5. Well, those thoughts, and I use that in my story and stuff because that's real. A lot of times, a lot of folks say, man, did you go to the streets? Is that where your journey started? No. My journey started basically in an atmosphere that no one meant any harm. But my godmother did not know that I was going to like the flavor of beer, And beer wasn't my thing as I got older and stuff. It was more so, what was it? Well, it was a little everything. From high school, marijuana, from a love boat. But when I hit the heroin, that was a 30-year journey, of snorting heroin, working, what they use the term functioning addict or functioning alcoholic, but I was just a functionally messed up. And so this journey was for 30 years, man. You know, never, I didn't go to treatment until I was like 42 years old. Yeah. And so, but through that journey and stuff, you know, what did I lose? You know, because I didn't lose a whole lot, you know, I never looked at it as really being a problem, you know. And you know, because also, you know, it was something that I liked and I loved and stuff. So basically, I had a relationship with something that I had no problem with. I didn't see it as a problem, but I did not, but I couldn't see what was happening around me. Also, I couldn't see not advancing. I couldn't see the fact that during my use and stuff, you know, my Social Security benefits speak to basically why I can't, you know, get my max, you know, at 66 because it's 4 years out of my life that I didn't work at all based on that. So, you know, a lot of things that, you know, and his family members who basically left this world. My sister who passed away at young age at 46, but she was also my hero. She stopped drinking the last week of her life, but because she had high blood pressure, and without when the drinking stopped, what happened and stuff, the withdrawals kicked in, and withdrawals basically triggered her high blood pressure. She had a major stroke and passed away. But she is my hero because she stopped on her own. Basically, she should. And what I know today is basically out of the way, I would have said, Vivian, you need to go to the hospital because basically something, you know, because your blood pressure will start going up because it's missing something that you usually give it, you know. And so she passed away at a young age. I had a brother who passed away at 40, brother who passed away at 46, and my youngest brother who was killed at the age of 7 after basically living a life of using and stuff, after his big brother, me, who he's called Bo Waba, introduced them to it. It's amazing that he went to school for criminology and became someone who served time, you know, for the most of the part of his life. And now when he does have some beautiful children that basically that picked up the mantle and they're running with him. Because also he was a brilliant young brother. As a matter of fact, you know, most of the people I've met in treatment and stuff or out of treatment or actually who are still out there today are extremely brilliant. You know, they are basically God's state-of-the-art creation, you know, and basically and stuff what just took a fall and stuff. I've learned to learn to look at folk, you know, in this culture, and I call it the drug culture, as I cannot look at them at any other way than they are basically little G's, little gods. You know, Bishop Starling's book, Living in the Rhythm of God in G minor and stuff. It's impossible, matter of fact, for them not to be that way because that's where they come from. But basically, just like them, I wasn't aware of who I really was. And then when I found that out there, my deepest fear basically was not that I was inadequate, but my deepest fear was the power that I found that I possessed, but basically was scared to manifest because what goes with it? The unknown and stuff, things that basically I've never done before, you know, responsibility, you know. Matter of fact, I was also I ran the addiction ministry at Union Temple for years under Reverend Willie Wilson. And I never forget one day he said, Brother Jamie, if these brothers could only get what I'm trying to teach them. And it hit me, Mr. Warner. I said, it ain't that I don't get it, Rev. It's the what goes with getting it is the responsibility that goes with getting it. I can't sit back and say I don't know no more. I can't sit back and make up excuses that basically that God ain't got it like that. Especially after being taught that, like I said, living in the rhythm of God in G minor, how he breaks that thing down that we are all Lord G's. Man, I tell you and stuff, you know, today and stuff, during the daytime I work at a methadone program. And in the evening, I just left a consulting position at Federal City Inpatient Program, night and day. Night and day. During the daytime at the methadone program, unfortunately, a lot of them brothers and sisters kind of use it as a crutch. And a lot of them brothers and sisters are stuck in the Pinocchio syndrome. What is the Pinocchio syndrome? It's not too many days that I work and sit in front of someone, even people who are clean, who don't tell a lie. But so they've been so conditioned based on this culture, basically, that which goes with it. But in the evening, at the 28-day program, that I always said I would never, you know, work in a 28-day program. For some reason, I didn't know. But I've been there for 4 years. And basically, this is a job. This doesn't feel like a job. I enjoy going to listening to people who have basically said, who have basically saying, I'm trying to get it together. I'm up in here, I'm fighting for it. And some of the folk that are there and stuff actually were I've known for years. But now they're sitting back saying, from this point on, I'm at least making an honest attempt to basically get my life together. And you hear all sorts of type of great, honest stories. And I'll tell you, my principal in the day, I love them, but they some lying folk and stuff. Because I can remember when I was in the methadone program, got kicked out of 2 of them, got kicked out of PIDOT, got kicked out of ADAP, and I ended up working back at both of them. Yeah. And so, and I knew what it, and actually I was a patient advocate. It was probably one of the worst patients in the history of patients, Yeah. One time and stuff, I can remember that one of the staff members' neck got stuck in my hand. And I couldn't figure out how their neck got stuck in my hand because of my attitude and some of the things and stuff. Like I said, I was out of control. But the Lord's Prayer, years ago, the Lord's Prayer in Psalms 82 was my true awakening when I basically was on my way, was ending my journey in music. Psalms 82 was spoken at a Men's Day celebration by Dr. Naheem Akbar. And he mentioned, and when he stated those 8 verses, but the verses said, I said ye are all God's sons and daughters of the Most High, and that blew me away. Wait a minute now. I said ye are all God's. Then I heard Minister Farrakhan say it. Then I heard Reverend Wilson say it. Then I hear Bishop Stalin write a whole book on it. The whole book is about Psalms 82. Who am I? I am what? The offspring of the Most High, built like that, But unfortunately, the stuff, like I didn't come up in the teachings of that. I came up in a loving family that sent me to Catholic school that did the best that they could, But I ended up basically doing what I did and stuff. And wasn't vindictive out in the street, but I found out, and I don't know if you remember Dr. Nana Quasi, that basically said, man, he used to ask me questions, Jane. He said, man, what was so low about you that you had to get high? Stuff like that. And then he said, when you dare to be different, be prepared to be misunderstood. I'll never forget when I stepped away from this, Raven, when I stepped away from the lifestyle, I got ridiculed by my brothers and sisters who I used to hang with. Oh, you think you better than me. You forgot where you come from. And then I realized, man, I really didn't know who I was. But I knew where I came through, and I knew where I came from. And you ain't gonna be talking about my mama. I ain't forget where I came from. I didn't come from the streets. I did go out there to get what I got and stuff. But I hit them with that. When they asked that question, they would say, man, you forgot where you come from. I said, what are you talking about, my mama? You cannot. And I didn't go to the street. I even do an example when they talk about the streets and how the streets raised us. Well, I'll take a group outside in a minute, and they'll look at me. I'm talking to the pavement, And they say, Mr. Todd, what you doing? I'm waiting for the street to give me back an answer because I didn't get an answer. I didn't get raised by this concrete, I got raised by some loving people who basically felt, and my mother felt the guilt. Man, I can see it in her eyes. She took responsibility for what we did. That's another thing that we don't think about when it comes to our parents, how they feel. And she said she used to say, like, I could see the look. What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? She did the best she could, and she did based on what she did the best she could based on what she knew in life. My mother had a first child at 13, second child at 15, 17, and 19. Had a big gap in between there, and then had my brother, me, and my younger brother in the 50s, which means and stuff, and had a man who basically, a good man, my daddy, who basically was 17 years older, but on the marriage certificate, it basically doctored, it had her at 20 and him at 32, changed the names around. Man, there's a whole lot of stuff that was going on there, basically stuff that I learned that basically, they called me to even write a book, put the book together. Called Home is Where Our Story Begins. But the question is, what story? Because the man that basically is on my birth certificate itself is not who I am, not my real papa, And so, and even with that and stuff, finding out all this type of information, did that lead me to drink and drug and stuff of that nature? No. But what it did do is lead me to wanting to mistreat women, because I said if my mother will lie, I say I know every last one of you guys will lie. But the drinking and the drugging was still there on the weekends, and then all of a sudden and stuff every other day, daily, consumed, you know, consumed, consumed, you know, and I got a thousand reasons, and each day I find out new ways, new reasons why not to go back, you know. And a matter of fact, when we in our classes, Raven, just ended, we ask this question: why would I choose to go back to where God has delivered me from? And the clients would say, I won't, never. They might say, ever, 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 ever. But before we recite that, we basically do we break down our deepest fears. Our deepest fears are not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fears is that we are powerful beyond our measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And we stop right there sometimes. You know, why are you scared of your light? You know, we hang out in the darkness. You know, they say the fruits come out at night. So, you know, I'm an ancestral researcher. In the part of that book is a chapter called I Keep Finding Me. I'm associated with several different names and stuff. There are about 14 different names that are directly connected to my ancestors, my grandparents. You know, from DC to Montgomery County, I have a town by the name, it's called Brownstown, named after my great-great-grandfather, you know, basically and stuff. So I got Stewarttown, Praterstown. I'm related to all those folk up there. I hang on plantations because I keep finding me. I keep finding folk in my family that basically been through what we've been through, you know, what I've been through. And, you know, the thing in the key word, I love the word through, because I was always in perpetual motion. You know, I never stopped and basically had to go down 6 feet under. I was able to continue to move, although I was kind of dusty at the time. But the fact is, I was able to continue to move, and only through the grace of course, the Creator that allowed me to be here right now, man. You know, I love doing what I do, because I love. I know I love it because I love me. You know, I wear a shirt that says "I am Jim," which means I am greatness in motion, and that's a movement that brother by the name of Ronald Hawkins, you know, put that piece together, and we have a movement, you know, where we hit the streets and stuff, man, and carry it to the brothers on the corner who they are, you know. You know, thug, you don't want to use the word thug because you don't want to know what it comes under in the dictionary, you know. When the word, you know, so you don't want to basically use dope thing and stuff, you know, when it comes in the dictionary, when you say dope, the last definition, Raven, is the word is a stupid person, you know. So basically, always I try to hit folk with those different type of sayings and stuff, like I say. And when it comes to, I just left a group today, and we were talking about they acknowledge that what they do makes no sense, which is nonsense, and they acknowledge what they do there is foolish, which is foolishness. And you look in the dictionary, where does it come under? You know, it come under the word punk. So I said, well, all y'all a bunch of punks then. So I pulled it out the dictionary and stuff and showed them stuff. You know, this is who, you know, are under the word thug. You know, we was coming up, our old hands out there, old time and say, young punk, where's the word thug? That's the word thug comes under there. You know, so this is, you know, when they started hearing, and when I started hearing those particular type of definitions, I said, wait a minute, you know, you know, and to be that God state, you know, I'm a little G, Psalms 82. You are all gods, so sons and daughters of the Most High, children of the Most High. I said, something ain't balancing here. Something ain't right here and stuff. If I'm built like that, why do I choose to continue to be something other than that? Well, maybe because I'm scared, like I say, of the light, not the darkness. You know, those are the, you know, man, and I guess a lot of times I was running away down from my, you know, the potential that I knew that stood out other, you know, from the other children, except my older brother who passed away, you know, at the age of 40. He had, you know, he was a shaker and a maker. He was one of the first out of my mother's 7 kids to get his own house. You know, I'm still working on that now, but we're getting ready to get something that, you know, and hopefully soon. But the thing is and stuff, man, you know, I come from a loving background. I come from some people who just wasn't aware of who they truly were. never meant any harm, or how basically, when we had family gatherings or repasses, that alcohol was going to be there. Christmas time, that alcohol was going to be there. That's just something that families do. So I didn't have a street venture and stuff. I had a home venture where basically and stuff, it all started at home, people who didn't mean any harm. And even today, any type of gatherings you go to, there's certain things I can't do there because I like the high that I'm feeling today. Right now, by sharing this with you, I'm feeling it, because basically, that endorphin, the feeling good, is basically is what we try to connect with when I'm working with the clients and stuff. On a good day, I say 2 days before payday, you start feeling good. That payday, before you even go out and get what you get, you are at an emotional high. That's why I try to share with folks. And basically, and I've learned, and I'm still learning. I believe in one of the definitions of spirituality, the process of always becoming, never arriving, where I'm able to learn more and more and more and more and more, even at the age of 64, getting ready to turn 65. So, I got 3 children. I got my oldest daughter is 43. She's a minister. I got a granddaughter who's 25. I got a son who's 27, and I got another daughter who's 29, and a new grandson who's 3 years old and stuff. And I'm so happy today that they are can see this daddy as I am today, because they did see. They will say today, "Glad, Dad, I'm glad. I'm glad who you are. I'm glad you are the man you are today," because they seen all the stuff that I've been through. They experienced, when I think they weren't. My daughter used to say, "Daddy, I'm so glad you don't fall asleep on the train." And we used to miss our stops. When I was nodding out on the heron, we'll go all the way to the end of the line. She said, "Daddy, I'm so glad of that." Or my son, who basically is one of my true heroes, who I asked, I used to, when I had him with me, I divorced from his mother. And at the age of 3 years old, she sent him to stay with me because she was abused by a serial rapist up in Pennsylvania. So she had to send him to be with me. And during that time, I was very abusive to him. Every weekend and stuff. He was obedient, Tawana. I used to tell him to sit on the couch. I took a 15-minute walk from near Cadova High School to 7th Street and back to get some heroin. He would sit there and stuff, would not move. 3 years old. All of a sudden, when I would come back in, I would see my furniture all moved all in a circle. And I would say, "Jamie, why would you get off the couch? And I told you not to do that." And he would basically wouldn't say anything. So what I would start doing as so-called man was basically spanking him. But I'm high, so I'm probably whipping him or beating him. This goes on for about a year until his mother came and got him. 2 years later, about 3 years later, I did get myself together. I'm talking to that little dude on the phone, Daryl. He said, "Daddy, you sound good today. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you." 6 years old. I said, whoa, okay. His mother done hooked him up with God. I said, okay. The next year, I'm speaking to him. I hadn't seen him in this month, since he was 3. And he's in Pennsylvania. I said, "James, I got to ask you a question." He said, "What, Daddy?" I said, "You remember when I used to leave out, tell you to sit on the couch and not move? And I would come back in the house and you'd have all that furniture moved around like in a big circle." I said, "Jamie, why would you do that?" Because there he'd be holding on to the couch. You could see him gripping. One time he sneezed and he had snot running all down his nose, but he stayed there, And I said, "Jamie, why would you do that?" He said, "Oh, Daddy." I guess he did it like that on the phone. I can hear him. "Oh, Daddy, I moved that furniture so you wouldn't fall and hurt yourself." When I came back and was nodding, raving off heroin.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And when he told me that, and I remember one time coming out of a nod and he was standing up under me crying, hoping that I don't fall. It's funny. Who's at home watching the children? Ain't it funny how the children at home watching you? And he watched, and basically when he informed me of that, that was another starting point, you know, because of what he was. When he loved me so much, Raven, that he was willing to take a whooping like that on a weekly basis. That's how much he loved me. And I didn't, and so I had to learn to love myself, you know, like that child loved his daddy. Yeah. So, you know, my children have seen a lot. But you know, we think, oh man, they never seen me do this, they never seen me do that, but they always see me actually high. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, you know, today me and her are extremely close. Matter of fact, she didn't know I was her biological father. Her story's a little like mine. Not knowing my biological father until I was actually 14. And then my daughter didn't know I was her biological father until she was 8 years old. And it took us a while to bond and stuff, you know. That's when I was 14, I separated from my mother when she told me this man who I thought was her boyfriend was actually she didn't tell me, the preacher at his funeral up in Tallahassee, Florida, said, named off his children. And when he named my name and stuff, I looked at my mother, I looked at the other three women who was his other baby's mama sitting in the front row, you know, and I walked out of the church, you know, and I know at the age of 14, it started my journey basically of, I want to hurt her too. You know, I want to hurt her like she hurt me. I want to hurt her like she hurt daddy. You know, daddy didn't deserve this, the man who raised me, you know, and basically and stuff. So women became victims, Tawana. Women became victims. And I think anything I started to do, I was real, man, very, very nasty to my mother based on that, you know, and that's why I write home. Home is where our story begins. What story? And that's why I truly believe you always tell, you know, a person who they are, regardless of where they come from, you know. And but I realized and stuff. That little girl had a story. Like I said, I say little girl because she was 13 years old when she had to grow up, and, you know, with a man 17 years older, who basically and stuff, you know, they were together for 43 years, you know. And daddy would always be my daddy, although he's not my daddy. You know, but that's why I have an awesome connection up in Tallahassee today too. You know, and so that's why I'm always finding me all across the continent. I'm a Beckwith. You know, you can find us down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm a Jackson. I'm a Warren. I'm a Johnson. I'm a Swatchee. My great grandmother in Tallahassee was full-blooded Native American. I'm a Knight. I'm a Haynes. All those are really me and stuff. And with all those names and stuff and the love that basically comes through those names, that keeps empowering me, Daryl, to be, you know, and say it's that those people are within me. Matter of fact, my grandmother, who I didn't know was my grandmother until I was 14, she died at the age of 93, and she was killed in a fire. But she would, because she would have probably lived to 100. But she has a name, her name in memory of Mary Haynes, on a window at the church in Tallahassee, Philadelphia Primitive Baptist Church in Tallahassee. Man, I so basically everything that I was so angry about, and even with my mother, basically I found so much joy now, because where my mother come from, the people basically how she ended up here is basically the fact that basically she was after she got pregnant, my grandmother put her out. Send her, you know, she might not even have put her out, Raven. She might have gave her to Mr. Harris. That's what the story is and stuff, you know. But that's a little child and stuff. And so now I started understanding and stuff, you know, what she went through. And then she met my biological father through my daddy, Harry Tolliver, who used to leave my biological father with her while he went around the corner to his girlfriend's house. That's how I got here.
Wow.
Yeah, man. You know.
So that you have that your story is stories are compelling, and one follow up from some of that is, what was it that was there a thing or a series of things that made you decide, okay, this journey with the drugs and alcohol isn't where I need to be, or what I want, or what was it that made you that click for you?
You know, I never forget. this one particular incident that happened. I used to run every morning, and I never forget. One day, you know, I touched the doorknob to go out, and the next thing I know, Daryl, I was on my knees in tears, man. I was on my knees in tears, man. I was just gone, man. I never forget that day. I was living up on Euclid Street. And when I gathered and got myself together, I walked out the door, man. There was a brother across the street who always used to invite me to Union Temple. Well, I didn't know it was Union Temple. You know, actually, I thought it was a Monty Temple, you know, at first, you know, but I didn't know and stuff. Well, anyway, his name was Todd Ledbetter. He's a saxophone player. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of, you know. And one day and stuff, man, you know, after, you know, I did my run, and after the run, he was sitting on the steps. And I just walked up to him. I said, man, where's this place you've been telling me about for years? You know, and he informed me about it, man. And I ended up, it was doing Reverend Wilson's 26th-year anniversary there. And I ended up over there, and who do I see? The brothers in the men's chorus, about 60 of them. And I see a couple of brothers I used to get high with. And I see basically and stuff, you know, oh, wait a minute. You know, I know these brothers. But I didn't recognize them because they didn't have no residue with what they used to do. So that was a defining moment because at that time, man, you know, my son, that doorknob I pulled on, that was at the place where I was still at that place where I used to whip my son, you know, and he was gone then, you know. That matter of fact, I can actually say that was that beginning of basically of the transformation because I remember doing a run there, but I don't remember the run, you know, because I was so transfixed on basically where I wanted to go and what I wanted not to do anymore.
And how Tawana's got a couple questions, but how long would you say that from that doorknob moment to you being getting to now where you have, what did you say, 26 years, 21 years sober? That it was a 30-year journey, you said, but how long between from that doorknob to where you could say you were really on that journey to get clean and sober? Or do you call it clean and sober? Is that language that you use?
Well, I use recovered, or then I've delivered. I like using that. But the fact is, you know what, that was interesting. You know, I know at that moment, I remember going right into treatment after that, you know, and still touched it here and there. Matter of fact, I had been in treatment prior to. I got kicked out of Pydoc, and I told you I got kicked out of ADAP on 33 Inch Street. But that third go round, basically after that situation, I ended up going to a model treatment program, you know, on 1300 First Street. And it was some people in there who basically helped me see life in another way. Mr. Charles Brown, Mr. Darrell, Mr. Patterson, and Mr. I don't know if you know, I think you know Mr. Stephen Wright. Everybody know Mr. Wright, you know. But it was a counselor that I had, man. His name was Mr. Valentine from Nigeria. And I never forget when I first walked in his office, Raven, you know, he said, I asked him, I said, man, how you gonna help me get off this dope? And he said, I ain't help you get here. And I cussed him out. I called him a lying, spear chucking, eating somebody. And I basically went to Mr. Brown's office, and Mr. Brown gave me an option. Mr. Brown said, I need a new counselor. First of all, he ain't been where I've been. He ain't never got eyes. Mr. Brown said, you got two options. I said, what's that? He said, the exit door or back in there where he's at. And when I went back in there, Raven, he said, you did not let me finish. All I was going to tell you is that you basically found your way in. You helped your way in here. You're going to help your way out. He said, I don't do nobody's crutching. You know, you fall down, you going to get up. Guess why? He says, because it ain't nothing I can tell you that you don't already know in reference to about what's wrong in life. Now, why you continue to choose to do what you do, that's on you. But basically saying, as your counselor, guess what he told me, Daryl? I'm only going to do, my goal, what I'm going to do is write down what you tell me you're going to do. What you tell me you know you have to do and not do. And that's all I'm going to do. And I'm just going to throw it back at you. I'm gonna, because I can't walk. I'm powerless over what you do. He said, dude, you got the information. He said, you gave me a history of your family. You got the information because they brought you up great. So you can't come in here. So I ain't gonna sit back and waste your time and mine try to tell you about something you already know. Guess what you know? It's wrong.
Tawana.
Go ahead, Tawana.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Jamie, for your story. Happy birthday. Congratulations on your 21 years of sobriety. So I'm just going to ask the one question. And you actually brought it up, what I was going to ask about. Did you ever find out what your son was actually doing? Because I was thinking that he was trying to do some form of protection, but more so for himself. That maybe as a child, he was putting the furniture out and trying to protect, against invaders, somebody coming in, whatever his imagination was coming up with.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he was actually trying to protect you, that is a great memory and story that you shared with us.
Yeah. And when I asked him years later and stuff about that, he said, yeah, Daddy. He said half the times I didn't feel the whippings. He said, man, I was just concerned about you. And that I'm talking about 3 years old. So, whoa. And like I say, my 29-year-old to tell me one day just out of the clear blue sky, because I had been clean for a while, Daryl, and so she just said, "This Daddy, I'm glad you don't fall asleep anymore," which I was nodding out. Yeah. From the mouth of babes.
Raven, any reflection or question or comment, Raven?
Well, Jamie, I want to thank you for your transparency. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you, for being so blunt about, your life and your experiences. And truly, I guess Tawana and I were on the same wavelength. The thing that hit me the most, was your son's protection over you, and how we, we look at things one way and maybe think things one way, but when later on you got a chance to really ask him, because you probably were wondering all those years why he did that, and then one day the light bulb went off and said, let me ask him what that was all about. Why you put the stuff in the circle? And like Tawana said, initially I thought maybe he's trying to protect himself in some kind of way, but then it changed corners on me, and I said, no, that was probably for his father, because that was the best he could do. That was the best he could come up with. That was, the best thing that he could see that he do. Children have a wonderful imagination.
Oh yeah.
And and I thought when you said that they're a lot like animals, especially like dogs and cats, and they protect you the same type of way. Just kind of like do stuff that's unorthodox that we don't even figure out what in the world is that all about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how people just do what they can.
Right.
And it's a wonderful thing that, he thought like that. And had he not surrounded you with that furniture, you absolutely could have hurt yourself, because, when heroin addicts, or even when, especially, alcoholics, or the people who, are doing too many of those prescribed medications, tend to fall a lot. And, as a matter of fact, I got information on somebody that I know. We was having a jovial conversation, and I was like, well, what were you doing when I called, or what are you going to do this evening? And she said, oh, well, I'm at the hospital with my sister who is transitioning. And I said, well, that just took me off guard, because I would have never thought the way the conversation started. And had I not asked that question, I wouldn't have known. And she told me that her sister fell and hit her head, and they can't stop the bleeding. And I just, so happened to ask her how old her sister was. I said, may I ask how old your sister is? Because, I'm going to keep y'all, all of you in my prayers. And if you need to talk, I'm here. And she said her sister was 62, and the doctor said they can't stop the bleeding, and she would be a vegetable if she survived in any way. And that hit home with me because I'm 62. And but for the grace there go I. Not so much as drugs and alcohol, but just period. But especially drugs and alcohol. Fall, hit your head, can't stop the bleeding, become a vegetable, can't get up. So God has been good. God has been good to so many people. So I'm glad your son was there to protect you, because you absolutely could have hurt yourself during that time. And just for you to come along so many years, and congratulations on your 21 years, and be able to study and go to school and get certified and help the next suffering addict is extremely noble. So, thank you for your contribution in this field. We are colleagues, and that's a great thing. You sound like you're a wonderful counselor. You've come a long way. You've done the self work on yourself, and a lot of times I hear all of my clients say, "Oh, Ms. Raven, I want to be a counselor." I said, "Baby, make sure that you help yourself first, because
That's
you
right.
can't give what you you don't want to come into the field hurt, killing people. They already have dead when they come in. So if you don't do the work on you, then you're going to harm them more than help them. So it sounds like you've done the work, and just want to thank you. Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you. Jamie, Tyler, thank you so much for sharing your story and your experiences. And I hope this is the beginning, a first time of this conversation, but a beginning of this work that we can do together in this journey of eliminating the stigma and the shame associated with substance use, mental health, and even particularly opioid use, and helping to reverse the crisis, to stop people. So for those of you that are watching here, we thank you for tuning in with us. Thank you so much, Raven and Tawana, for sharing your gifts and talents. Thank you, Kayla, in the background, for making all this possible. And all of you that are watching, let me just remind you, if you need to get help right now, you can, 24 hours a day, 311 or 1-888-7-WE-HELP from the Department of Behavioral Health. If you're in Maryland or Virginia, 311. If you call 311 and you're in DC, but you need Maryland or Virginia, they can get you connected. So if you know somebody that needs help, let us know. You can reach out to us at innerlightinc1@gmail.com. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel. And if you need something, if you know someone that needs something, we are in this to win it. And we also are doing naloxone trainings and getting naloxone into hands of people in the community so that you can help reverse an opioid overdose and save a life. So if you know that you're in an area or have family members or people that you associate with that may be using opioids or heroin or any of that, and you want to have this life-saving opportunity, let us know. It's an 8-minute video, and then we give you the kit so you know what you're doing. But if you want to get some, and if you want to get some more information, we are a part of the Place of Worship Advisory Board annual Community Day Health Fair, which will be on August 28th. And we'll be at Temple of Praise this year on Southern Avenue. It is free. We have free fresh food that's going to be cooked on the spot and given to people there. We've got gift bags. We have a game truck. We have a whole mobile store that will be there. So if you need to do your shopping for that week and you don't want to have to catch the bus and the train far away to Giant or somewhere, you can come to this mobile store and get what you need. We are also going to be giving away fresh fruit and vegetables. We have the COVID vaccine will be given out. We have HIV and hepatitis C testing and other health screenings that will be available to you. We have lots of community organizations that are going to be there, and backpacks and giveaways and things for the kids. So it's going to be a really great opportunity, a great time, 10 to 2 at Temple of Praise on Southern Avenue. Come out. Everyone is welcome. And if you're driving and you don't have time to stop, we will even have a drive-through service where you can get fresh fruits and vegetables and a gift bag as you drive through. So you don't even have to stop if you don't want to. But we will have some very special guests there. The Amani drummers and will be there, and dancers, and with other people. We're going to have a really, really great time. So please come and join us August 28th, 10 to 2 at Temple of Praise on Southern Avenue for our Community Day and Health Fair, sponsored by the Place of Worship Advisory Board and supported by Inner Light Inc. and Inner Light Ministries and many, many others. So we hope that you'll come. We hope that you'll join us. And we hope that you'll check us out again. Like our page, like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and you'll know when we're going live. We've got some more shows coming up in September. If you want to share your story, if you want to share your journey, we want to hear from you and we want to share with you. Again, thank you so much, Department of Behavioral Health, Department of Health and Health HIV, SAMHSA, for your support of this kind of programming that lets us get into the community and really share honest, true stories as we reduce stigma and shame associated with mental health, substance abuse, and even the opioid crisis. Again, thank you to my co-hosts, Raven and Tawana. Thank you to our guest today, Jamie Tolliver. And thank you, Kayla McCraddock, in the background for helping us do all that we do. We see the God in you every day in every way. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Thank you.